Hello, hello again. This is Michelle on a Friday, March the 27th, 2026. This is going to be part two. The house always win. Okay? The house always win. Or wins, or win, or whatever. you know, um, is life a game? No, it isn't. Life is not a game, but we have been playing with our lives and treating our lives as games for centuries. You know, that's why we're so obsessed with sports and sports gambling, sports betting, and we are that same way with our life. We love gambling our lives, taking chances. And I've said this so many times there's no such thing as chance. And what does that mean? Well, let's see if our artificial intelligence friends can tell us. No such. All right. So what does that mean? Because everybody has these. It says there's no such thing as chance. Everything occurs as a result of cause and effect. How many times have I said that? But what does that mean actually? I mean, I mean, you know, the obvious may not sometimes be the obvious. So don't be hard on yourself when something does strike you. It's like, okay, well, what? Because sometimes we really don't know what things mean, but we regurgitate it all the time. Like I knew someone who, this person is literally, figuratively, metaphorically losing it. The schizophrenic is hitting this person really, really hard, but this particular person doesn't accept the fact that they are schizophrenic. And unfortunately, a lot of people are that way. They have the behaviors and actions to support schizophrenia, but who wants to admit that they are? And usually, it takes someone outside of that person, usually a loved one, to attempt to snap them out of it and tell them you need help. Schizophrenia does require professional help, especially the degree of it, whatever spectrum you're on as far as schizophrenia is concerned. Because I can accept that all of us may, have these tendencies to go that way, go towards the schizophrenic realm based on what we're dealing with. And it usually has everything, and I repeat, it has everything to do with those religious tentacles. Religion does that to the consciousness, the brain, the thought, the psyche, whatever you're calling it. That energy of religion causes this degenerate behaviors and actions, especially as to how we're thinking or lack thereof. And so, no such thing as coincidence. Let's see what was the intention of it. It says it, like I said, don't be concerned if you don't understand things you think you understand. Okay, let's see what it says here. Because that's true. When you say there's no such thing as chance, okay, everything occurs as a result of cause and effect. So why is that so difficult to absorb? Cause and effect. So Friedrich Schiller is possibly responsible for that quote. It said his quote is, "There is no such thing as chance, and what to us seem merest accident springs from the deepness source of destiny." Oh, that's pretty you know, it's here. Okay. A lot of it is religious connotations. You're gonna have to suspend that. Otherwise, you're not gonna capture the meaning. Anytime you put in a religious connotation and you're attempting to understand the metaphor of it, you first have to dismiss the metaphor. You first have to dismiss the religious connotations, and in order to understand the metaphor. Does that make sense? A lot of people are not doing that. It's the other way around. Apparently, they are doing everything in their power to make that religion, the focal point, and it isn't. It's a distraction. It's in the way. Come on now, 2026. So, let's see what else it says here. So my point this morning. Ooh. Oh gosh. I'm just looking at some of the quotes that, like I said, we infuse religious doctrine into it, and it just loses the complete meaning. Just know this. There's no such thing as coincidences, no such thing as a chance or chances. It is cause and effect. The energy of cause and effect. Understand that. If anything we get out of this video this morning, understand that. And understand how to, when you come across these so-called, these phrases and quotes, see if you can turn it into a metaphor, your own metaphor. No one has to know you're doing that, so that you can actually comprehend. I was listening to something about comprehension, and in most cases, most people are not comprehending anything based on the results. That's how you know. Why are we in war still? Why are we in war? Because those that are in operation or in control of that are playing checkers. That's why. Okay. So it's kind of an embarrassment, actually, because a lot of people are recognizing that we've been playing the game of checkers. There's nothing against checkers, but we've been playing the game of checkers in these high stake activities and behaviors, and not thinking about the consequences of it, the cause and effect of it. When you think of the cause and effect, genuinely think of the causes and effect of your behaviors and actions, means that you're thinking about the causes and effect. You may not like what happens in the future based on what you're doing right now. But unfortunately, for a lot of things, it's too late. The damage has been done. So I said on an earlier video that, we all make mistakes. I've said that on many videos. We all make mistakes. We all ought to be given the benefit of the doubt. But we are centuries past that. Okay, we're centuries past it. I mean, yes, I have compassion for you, but I'm not gonna accept your excuses. No, I'm not gonna deal with your excuses. Thankfully, I'm going to be minding my own goddamn business, especially as I'm approaching some uncertainty myself. I'm looking forward to it. Sometimes, things are right at your door, and if you don't answer it properly, I could have been saying like, well, let me wait on what's going to happen with the war. Let me wait on the midterms. Let me wait, let me wait, and then what? A lot of people do that. Well, the gas prices are too high. Yes, they are. But they've been too high for decades, for centuries. In other words, it'll be something else. If it's not gas prices were out of control before the war. But consider this, since I've been born, and since the majority of you have been born, we've been in war. So what does that mean? Think it through. The house always wins. That's my point. And that affects all of us. And some people see that as an advantage because they think they're experts. Like I said, they think they're expert gamblers. They think they know how to outwit everybody. They sit at a fucking table, with a cigar in their ass. They might as well put the cigar in their ass and think that they're experts. And then they win a whole pot of money. And then what happens? They lose it all. That's that metaphor of life. We do that with our lives too. How much is enough for you? You have to answer that individually. How much can you literally protect when it it relates to your materialism? I see a lot of people on the street. I guess they're, I'm assuming they're homeless. I'm assuming they're unhoused because there have been times where people have homes to go to. You know why they don't live in those homes? It's because they're probably unlivable due to neglect and hoarding. A lot of people cannot live in their own houses. And there's more of those than we care to know because everything looks great on the outside. You don't see what's going on inside. And you go inside, you can barely get around in there because they're hoarding. So if they are on the street and they are, carrying a shopping cart or whatever they're carrying, chances are they're hoarding on the street. And that means they're going to, usually in most cases, they're going to hoard when they do get housed. It's a consciousness disturbance, an unawareness of, who you are, what you are, and why you are. And at the same time, your behaviors and actions. Some people are just so unconscious with that. They have no idea. And when you're hoarding, that sneaks up on you. It's religious. It's part of those tentacles. When you start hoarding. So there's some people on the street that have houses, have homes, but those homes are unlivable because of the amount of materialism inside those homes. And to be outdoors, some prefer to be outdoors, drifting, and not be inside. Like my particular situation here, it's a isolation for me because I can't necessarily interact in this neighborhood because I have no. It's not relatable to me. That's all. This neighborhood does not relate to me. This neighborhood was an experiment. I said to myself, okay, let me live in this type of environment just to get the experience of it. I've been in other type of environments before, and so I wanted this experience. And okay, and it's over finally. Well, it will be. I will be moving on. But the experience is, it taught me so much. And if I hadn't, and the amount of intentional harm in these type of environments is off the chart. I told you what type of culture I came from a predominantly black culture, black American culture, where there was like, I would say hundreds of thousands of us. I don't know how many there were, but I know there was a lot of us. And our communities were together. And, it was kind of amazing because I had no fear of that neighborhood at all. We used to walk, we had a curfew. Trust me, my mom didn't play. It's true in those cultures back in the day when that street light came on, our asses had better be in the house getting ready to take a bath and take our ass to bed or have something to eat, whatever. We were structured properly, and I'm thankful for that. My mom was the head of the household when it came to the children, and making sure the house was in order. And my dad was the provider, the outside provider. He went to work. He provided us with our necessities and basic needs and blah 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 blah. I talked a lot about that. So this neighborhood is nothing like anything that I grew up. It's a different reality. Okay, that's what people need to. And a lot of people don't know how to think outside of that. They figure, okay, there's a lot of non-white people that they do not see. Doesn't mean that they're not here. They're here. There's some people in this building here that do not come out of their house, out of their apartments at all. And it has nothing to do with the neighborhood. That's their choice. And I can relate to that because I was spending most of my time indoors too here. When I first moved over here, I was going to the park down the street almost every day, and I was really enjoying that until I saw what was happening to the park. And we all know what happens to parks. Once they release the unhoused out of those shelters, we know what happens to parks. Okay? Don't be delusional about that. Okay? And then you had these people that did not know what to do with their bodily fluids, on the sidewalk, not picking up after themselves, trash everywhere. You had these so-called nonprofits feeding these people. And then once they leave, the plastic containers were all over the park, were all over the street. And so somebody else had to clean that up. And the nonprofits did not have a plan set up to where they collected that garbage. No, not at all. Okay, so I've been extremely outspoken about that because we all know that billions upon billions of dollars have gone unaccounted for, and that's been going on for centuries too. More money goes for administrative than it does to the problem. Like I said, a lot of people talk about scaling and strategizing, and that's not what it's about. It's about solutions, resolutions, solving the problem. And if you cannot solve the problem, get out. As they say, get out of the kitchen. But a lot of these nonprofits did not get out of the kitchen. They kept harassing people to donate. They'll go out into some of these communities and drag a homeless person in front of a camera and claim that they're, come on now. Okay, the veil has been lifted. The veil lifted, the curtains open. You've been exposed. 2025 was the year of exposure. And it has nothing to do with the political. It's cause and effect. It's consequences. So there's no such thing as chance. Okay, there's no such thing as chance. And as I've said in the first video, the house always wins. Okay, so contemplate what I've said in this particular video, part 2. I'm going to take a break, but trust me, I will be back.